And I'm live. Welcome back, guys. This is the reaction to what has been a horrendous day of FA Cup football for Manchester United. Not only have we gone out of the first stage in the Carabao Cup, but now the FA Cup to Brighton. This cannot continue. I really want us to make sure that we are focusing on what I just posted to start the show. We cannot keep going forward under the Ineos. We cannot keep going forward under the Glazers. You know, we've reverted to a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, whichever way you wanted to look at it today. And what changed? Actually, we started taking backward steps. Players looked lost. Players didn't really know what they were doing. Luke Shaw seems to have disappeared out of the entire squad, let alone the starting 11. Nothing's really been said about that, so I don't know if that's a falling out. We'll wait to try and find some information out over the night, but it wasn't brought up in any of the match press conferences that I saw. And now, where do we go? You know, we've been told no money to be sent to any clubs for loanees, no money to be spent on any new players. As far as we're aware, Ollie or Carrick are coming in to take over, at least till the summer. But what are they going to take over? We've got no players. The manager couldn't turn and look at the bench today. And what did he have? Absolutely nothing. So we'll have to see what happens from here. Danny, welcome, my man. Obviously, let me just say what we need to be said, and we'll come back to the chat in a minute. Where do I start? Let's first off start with the lineup that was picked. It's very close to what I suggested, bringing Euro in for Heaven. But I think he made a few mistakes today that maybe Heaven wouldn't have. So that I knew that was always going to be a risk. We obviously got Harry back on at near the end, so hopefully he can come in for the Man City and Arsenal games, which has been the most important problem we need to solve, is having that solid back line so we stop conceding stupid goals like we did again today. And it's not the goals, it's the chances. It's not being able to track the runners. I'm still annoyed. You can tell because I'm struggling to get the words out. You know, we went to a midfield. Everyone wanted Kobe back, and Kobe showed you that he can't run in midfield. Kobe showed you he's no 6. He had some good touches, turned out of space, won some good free kicks, carried the ball well, but that's why he's a 10 or an 8 further up the pitch. Ugarte and Dalot, I kid you not, I'm not sure they could pass the ball to each other if they're standing 1 foot apart. You know, neither of them can pass and complete a pass, so we just kept giving the ball away. Within the game, I noticed that Dalot and Bruno weren't even pressed. They even set up from the goal kicks to allow the ball to go to Dalot's side and then heavily pressed him because he takes too long to get rid of it. So, you know, we're going to cover all of this off. But first off, I did say in the preview, I thought we'd lose by 1 goal. We're probably quite lucky we didn't lose by more. But it was an absolute, as expected, the players didn't turn up. Obviously, that's what I was saying, that on these games with all eyes on them, they crumble, literally. These players could not run through a wet paper bag, let alone brick wall for each other. They just give up and don't want to get going. So we will see what happens. But, you know, going forward now, I've listened to Fletcher's post-match interview. It sounds like he's back to the 21s tomorrow. So maybe we've got some news coming out tonight or in the morning regarding who the management will be. I know the front runner is Carrick because he has a team to bring with him. Whether it's Carrick and his team plus maybe Ollie as the actual manager, I don't know. So that is what is being linked in all the news media right now. But as we know, the media will leak whatever they want. Doesn't mean it's real. So, yes. But let's get on with it. Let's get on with, well, the breakdown of where we went wrong. And, you know, come in a chat, have your say. But I think the main place to start is obviously the left back scenario where Luke Shaw has disappeared. With Luke Shaw disappearing into, I don't know, is this it for Luke Shaw for this season? Has he played his games? He's played half the season and he's now going to be out injured. Because Dorgu playing left back is probably the worst thing that could happen. We bought Dorgu as an attacking right winger slash right forward, of a front three, and now he's playing left back for us. It's beyond a joke. We've seen him putting some great performances as a right wing, and now we've got no left-sided thing. Malacia is on the bench. We've got Diego Leon. We've got Harry Amas. Okay, Amas is out on loan, so that's a bit unfair. But if you need a left back, play an actual left back. Not anyone else, but was there. We've got also a right back in Dalot who is just horrendous. So Dorgu at least could have played there as a right back playing attacking right wing back. He'd be no worse than Dalot at his best. So that's personal opinion. Who else did we change today? Casemiro. I know there's a lot of hate for Casemiro, but I can't keep emphasizing enough how good Casemiro is or has been for us this season in our 5. But going forward now, with him as back to being a single pivot, having no help, being left exposed and run over, I can see why maybe he was left out for this game. But bringing in Mainu alongside Ugarte, in theory, was a very attacking, bold move. That backfired as soon as Bruno Fernandes started playing as a second striker within the first 10 minutes. So, no one was really surprised at that he was going to run forward but not run back. And I believe that is why Ruben Amorim made him play in that midfield too. Danny, you're right. We do need a proper clear out, but it's never going to happen. Our players are worth too much financially on paper to the club, and they're never going to send them our way, are they? They're never going to go, right, let's get him out and hope we get a better player in. Right now we couldn't get any worse. So it's worrying times. I have my hand on heart. I'm telling you, my biggest fear right now is we go from being Champions League contenders under Amorim, sack him, and we plummet down the table, going back to playing a formation. These players have been shit under every other manager trying to play 4-3-3. They can't do it. They only want to run forward. They do not want to defend. They leave Casemiro exposed with 2 centre-backs while the full-backs bomb on to create the space because our front 3 can't play wide. Exactly how I saw today's game pan out. Casemiro staying central. Ugarte popping up here and there. Mainu trying his best to help out. I will be honest with Ugarte, but Mainu was playing the 6. And obviously we saw that's what the swap was when Casemiro came on. But the biggest problem for me is you put Bruno on, he's never in the middle of the park. He drops back down, he picks the ball up from the centre-backs, sometimes standing behind the person with the ball. And then as it's rolled to him, he just pings the ball diagonal, 60 yards. It's no good. Lacey did show width, and I'll come on to that with why that sort of play will be important. But if Bruno's quarterbacking from the defensive line, if you like, for those who like your NFL, there's no simple pass into midfield. He's meant to be playing that sort of 10 role behind the front 3. So if you play a long ball, for instance, as Danny put, Shea Lacey, the ball goes out to Lacey, he whips the ball in, and it gets cleared. Now there's no one there for second ball, and they counter. Where under Ruben, what we were doing was winning all the second balls, and that's how we were creating so many chances. It was second ball, get the ball, whip it back into the box, shift it, maybe one or two players, put it back in the box, and then we could build up, or at least build a mid block ready to be a low block and work our way back down the pitch, because we know we can't chase people in transition, and it's a real problem. So, yeah, midfield today was a joke. I don't really know what Fletcher was thinking. It's certainly not how I see the under-18s play. So it was a change in how tactics, maybe, shall I say, depending on who he has, as in better players, or as he said, he does give them the ability to do what they want to do when they go out wide. Once they step over that white line, if Brighton are doing something unexpected, you have the ability to change it, which is where it falls on Bruno as a captain, either to make that call. I've always said that the captain is basically the coach on the pitch. And if he tells you to do something, you respect it just as much as if the manager's telling you right there, right now himself. But if we go to talk about the first goal is just exposed one of the biggest flaws we had in the first half. Mason Mount was playing wide right, never been his position ever, wide right. He's always at least been wide left for Chelsea before we bought him, or central. And then Dalot, and come on, if there's anyone forgetting the wooden spoon for this season, it's Dalot. His reading of the game is non-existent. His positional play, it was as if he was still trying to play as a right wing back, inverting into the striker role. So he's always out of position. Yeah, exactly that. Mount's not a natural defender, but he will run his arse off. And Dalot can't stick to a position, which is why I originally always wanted to keep Wan-Bissaka and sell Dalot when we had the choice of the two. I'd rather have a great defensive player than a mediocre defensive player who can run forward. So, yeah, they target is all right. I'm going to call him Kostologlu because I think that's the best pronunciation you'll probably get out of me. Picks the ball up, just runs at us. He's running at Dalot, and it's just a simple run by inside to out by Welbeck, goes down the outside, gets the ball, clips it back out into the box. But to beat Mason Mount, all it was what we call a stop-start, or just a little left to right, shift the ball 1 yard, and he dinks the crossover. Poor header from the Brighton player. Obviously, we stop it with who was it? Martinez clearing it off the line. Which, again, lack of communication because the keeper dives for it right, or sort of falls over as Martinez is going for it. So if there was a shout, maybe we could have stopped it there at source. And then it just pops out where Dorgu's switched off because he's not a natural defender either. And his players got away from him for a simple tapping. And that's the kind of goal we've been conceding all season. We had two centre-backs, a right back and a left back, all in the box, all trying to do their jobs. And then I think Ugarte was the only midfielder. And they still managed to get it in when we're outnumbering them 2-1. I think the keeper could have done better. I don't think it was a massively fast cross, but he couldn't come out and claim. Whether he misread it. I've seen some reports saying he over commits to one side, which I'm not going to disagree with right now, but I think it is something he needs to work on. He does seem to be very close to his front post at all times. So maybe when I look back at it tomorrow night, I might see that actually he could have taken 2 steps and claimed it out of the air and stopped it at source before the header even comes in. Maybe not. So, yeah, that one came down the right. And then the second goal, the second goal was even worse in my understanding of how a back four works. We had Dorgu left back. He had someone run off the back of him, but the only reason he was able to run off the back of him is because Martinez was 10 yards further forward than the whole back line, where he probably shouldn't have been when playing in the back four. But if we were playing our back five from, every other game, that's where the manager would have wanted him. Leacher was poor for the second goal. I also thought he was poor in the last game as well. So maybe he's better in a back three than he is in a back four. Less space to cover because there's always someone on central, so he doesn't know if he has to come out. There's still two centre backs to cover him. It's just something I'm keeping an eye on at the moment. But with Harry Maguire coming back, if De Ligt's then fit, Martinez is straight to the bench over the last two games that I've seen. But of course, he's going to get a fresh start under a new manager. So there is that to take into account. But yes, the run off the back of Dorgu didn't know whether to cover across. Then Euro didn't know whether to come across, which actually made that just made it a giant hole. But it was down to what you want. You want to suck the centre back off, spin into his space, knowing that the other centre back can't come across without allowing the strikers to spin in there into the same space. And that's exactly what Welbeck did. By Euro making that slight move over, Dalot was nowhere to be seen. Yet again, he was 10 yards too high. Ugarte should have been goal side of Welbeck at that point because he was closest to him walking. Both Euro and Welbeck were walking, and as soon as Welbeck goes on a run, you've got to follow him, but it just doesn't happen. But yeah, it's simple. It's great first touch. Ball comes across, and he fires it in the top corner. Again, I'm going to criticise that the goalkeeper. I want to see him at least take off. I want to see him throw himself up towards that top corner. You might get it, you might not. But I want to just see a little bit more athleticism from him to make the attempt. It might not happen. You might not get there. But the attempt he did make seems like he was just taken by surprise that he's hit it. And maybe that's a lack of Premier League experience. When you look back at David De Gea in his first season at Manchester United, he was very much like this as well. Getting up to the speed of the game, where shots come from. Obviously we knew with him he needed laser eye surgery. But I don't know. Come back to me in the comments. Have your say if I'm being overcritical of the keeper. I think see a lot of talent. I see a lot of calmness, and if we can develop upon that, you could make a world-class keeper, because the most important thing any top goalkeeper needs to be is calm under pressure. He certainly seems to be showing that. When the ball goes in, he doesn't really look phased. He looks like, I'll just save the next one kind of persona, which is something I absolutely cry out for in a goalkeeper. But it's very hard to find. It has to be installed by your coaches from a young age. It's certainly information I gave my own son. If you concede one, so what? Even if you throw it in your own net, you've got to save the next one and expect the other 10 players to get you back in the game. These things happen. But yeah, Welbeck, as soon as I saw he was starting against us, I was like, he would score. He's just absolutely superb and has gone from strength to strength. Obviously, he's never was going to be a world beater as a striker, but as an ex-United academy player who has literally gone, you look at the teams, okay, he's at Brighton now, but he's managed to play for Man United and Arsenal and score goals for both teams. And you hear the ex-players talk so highly of him. I think that's superb. And I can't praise him enough, if I'm honest. Let's just get up to speed with the Prem. Yeah, and that's all it is. It's not... people are too quick in this day and age to jump to as if I'm criticising someone because of that's how I feel. It's not. I just see it as, if you work on this, maybe work on like your micro steps, maybe work on expecting the unexpected. How do you do that? Well, you train day in, day out with different goalkeeping coaches. Maybe go down, train with the younger goalkeepers as well as the older goalkeepers. So you see different techniques, different things. The more goalkeepers you watch make saves, the better you become. So go home every weekend, be given a video package of all the saves, like top saves made in the Premier League. Look what they did. Where were they standing? And he'll start to understand what it is. But right now, he seems to be a little bit slower than we would have liked, but he's certainly not being helped out by his defence. I think, Danny, you could probably agree with me on that. But if the defence are giving up opportunities to shoot, then he can't really pull off the greatest saves. Some of the saves he has made so far have been instinctive. That great save last week where he dives to his left and claws it out, that's an instinctive save. So we can't ask for any more than that. Thank you. Come on over. Yes, please do come on over from Tactical Devils. There will be a raid going on. Jarvis and Stu are just winding up. De Ligt is a hard one to call. It's my understanding he basically, and it's the best way to put it, he found they had a spot on his back, and anyone who understands about spots is that, without being too gruesome, the sack was pushing on a nerve, and you can't just get rid of it. As simple as that, because you don't want any nerve damage. So we will see what happens. But that's the only thing holding him back. You would have thought it would have died down by now. Take the head off it, whatever you need to do. But maybe it's attached itself to the nerve. What's this? Did you notice the cutback were back today? Like we saw under 8.5. Yeah, I did. I saw him being not available. Yes, we nullified then cutbacks under Amarin. Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm sort of saying. We can go to a back four, but those players as a back four did not work. So, Amarin changed formation to what he knew, but he also took the players into a formation that he saw was best for them. As in, how are we going to make ourselves solid and have a springboard for attack? So, Danny, you're right. Those cutbacks were back. They were simple. It's not hard to run inside our fullbacks when, like I said, Dorgu's a right winger in his best position. Dalot is a left back in the changing room rather than actually being on the football pitch. So I'd run inside them all day long because their first instinct is probably to grab hold of you and bring you down rather than show you outside and stop you from running and know to tighten up and come in. Right, we've got a few people popping over now. Let's go have a quick look. Who have we got here? Nix, Devils Tacticos United, Trevor Wade. Oh, here you go. I might be in for some abuse from Trevor. He loves to give some. Obviously, Danny's already here. Yes, I've been told that there is a raid ongoing. So yeah, well, we're just sort of going over the goals and basically our back line and how it's back to exposing the goalkeeper. I think Lamens is just still learning, and if we're going to allow the cutbacks from so close, let's be fair, it was almost the edge of the 6-yard boxes they were getting to cut them back, and that was not happening under 3 centre backs. So the way you stop that normally is, where's the CDM getting back in to make that third centre back? Oh wait, he can't because we're being run through the midfield because we've got no way of slowing them down anymore because the double pivot's gone. Mainu was never going to drop in and defend. And once Casemiro was on, it was already too late. We were pushing forward. So no Mankini's here. I don't think they make them big enough. So yeah, so the goals happened. But for me, it's the mentality. I still didn't see a fire start to burn in our bellies to go forward and get to get us back in the game. Like we had been under Amorim. We conceded first so many times this season, but we always looked like we would actually go straight back up the other end and try and score. And we've been creating the most chances in the Premier League. What we top 3 or something like that, which for me is misleading, and it's very misleading for a lot of fans. Just because Bruno's back today, he was just smashing the ball around from our own half, trying to pass to players out wide, and they didn't even know it was coming. There were Hollywood balls. We were back to that. And once again, until Shea Lacey came on, we weren't really getting crosses into the box because we had no width. Cunha and Mount both came in narrow. Mount was constantly running back, covering Dorgu. Not Dorgu. Dalot. Dalot was inverting inside, which he should never do as a right back in a 4-3-3 because he has to give the width. So it is what it is. Well, that and Trevor, that is a problem because we did have a identity, and we did have a style of play. And it seems right now, after 2 games, you may have wanted rid of Amorim, but at least you went, well, we know it's going to be 3 at the back, it's going to be 5 in midfield and 1 up top. We knew that, and that is a style of play. It may not have been great, but we've also seen how many managers play 4-3-3 in the Premier League in the last 15 years at Manchester United, and it not work, and we give up the same problems. And that's it. Yeah, Danny just literally said it right there. We're back to Eric Ten Hag ball. No one knew where they were passing. So the best thing you could have done if you're an interim manager is probably, if it was me, I would have kept 3 at the back. I would have kept the 5. I would have kept Dorgu on the right, played him at right wing back, played Dalot at left wing back, see if that made a difference. Bruno was out injured, so you could have played Ugarte, Casemiro, and then see where we go with the missing player in Xerxes. Don't change anything. See if the players could go out and do that job. Right now, the back 4 was weak against Burnley, and we were lucky to get the draw. Then we were horrendous today as a back 4. Players stepping out when they really shouldn't. At the end of the day, your centre backs need to stay together in a back 4, and your fullbacks do all the stepping out. Because otherwise, you leave a giant gap and you can't catch anyone offside. So first and foremost, back 4, centre backs stay together and work as a pair. One sweep, one attack. Yeah. Welcome, Beast. It is true. But to master a system, you have to understand football. And you have to understand your personal role in football. And right now, it feels like certain players probably adapted to a mindset of, I'm now a right wing back. I'm now a holding midfielder. I'm now a 10. I'm not a striker. And they can't just switch mentalities like that. A top footballer goes, right, today so-and-so's out. I need you to do a job at centre-back. But I'm a striker. Yeah, well, don't put it in our goal. Just shoot the other way. If the ball's in the air, head it. If the ball's on the ground, smash it away. Try and stay on your feet. Don't make any sliding tackles, which is what you would tell a striker to do as well. So, wingers, most like right backs, left backs are failed wingers. It's just knowing about the position in front of you. But right now we just seem like, oh, okay, uh, and that's on the ball. They don't know where to pass. They don't know what to do. Jarvis is in as well. Welcome, welcome, Jarvis. Um, what's this? Well, with Johnny Fletcher and Johnny Evans will be the same with Ollie and Carrick. It's a job for the boys. Same old story. Now, Trevor, I disagree with the job for the boys in a way. I will explain in a sec. Big up, guys. Glad to see so many of you came over to support Mark. Yeah, and all of you that have come over, if you can just pop a like on the video, and if you haven't already subscribed, I would be much appreciated, as this channel is growing faster than I thought, but it still needs all the help to get me up to that magic 1,000, maybe by this time next year. So please do what you can and hit the like as much as possible. What else we got here? Oh, my midfield is open. There's a channel tunnel. Jarvis is in. Let's all leave. Trevor, you're not wrong. I described the midfield in a 4-3-3 for Man United as the black hole in Calcutta. So yeah, it's going to be a problem. The jobs for the boys. Let's go back to that. Thank you very much, Trevor. Thank you. Where was it? The problem is Fletcher is a job for the boys. The job for the boys, I understand it. It's if you look back and there's so many ex-United players, you'd probably say they could go into management because they've learned under an absolute legend. I could probably say the same about some of the Liverpool players over the last 5-6 years under Klopp. You could say the same with some of the Arsenal players, like Fabregas now stepping into management, and that from the Arsenal teams. The better your manager is, the more you're going to learn. And what I feel from listening to Fletcher, obviously it's a shame I haven't got to hear Johnny Evans speak, but I feel he might go on to the coaching staff with either Ollie or Carrick, whoever stays. I really hope he does anyway. Is that it's the respect. Every single one of our ex-players, be it Ryan Giggs when he stepped in, with Scholesy, Butt and all that on the bench. You know, we've had Carrick step in, we've had Ruud van Nistelrooy, we've had Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Is there anyone else? There may be some others that I'm missing. But the biggest point is they have so much respect for, before they phone their wife, they're phoning Sir Alex Ferguson and asking them, is it the right move? Am I okay? You know, you're the boss in my eyes. It's respect. And that's what Manchester United has been built on ever since, you know, going back to before the Munich air disaster, you know, before the Busby Babes, you know, before Fergie's fledglings, all of that, there was respect throughout the hierarchy. Now, we all know from our own business thing that respect is earned. You know, you don't just give it, but if they've earned that much respect, I'm talking about Charlton, Ferguson, Sir Matt Busby. There's a reason they're the Sirs. You know, they were the original Knights of the Round Table in the Premier League before the Kings started just chucking out knighthoods left, right, and centre to anyone every year now. But they didn't just coach footballers. They coached your life. They coached your personality. They gave you standards to live by, not just to play football by. So the fact all of that has gone out of the club, every time we get an Ollie, a Carrick, a Fletcher, an Evans, or anyone like that back in, it feels like a bit of that is coming back. Jarvis, I know you're in the chat, or at least you were. You say quite often how we need ex-players or someone linked to the club on your shows, like on the bench, to keep that United standard. And when you look at the last two games, weirdly, I felt like the standard was coming back under Amrin to a degree of we'll attack, we'll go get the next ball, we won't give up. But now it feels like it's gone completely the other way. And we're back to the team that gives up, that but doesn't know what the standards or levels are expected of a Manchester United player. I didn't really see anyone like geeing them up. Come on, we'll get the next one. Get the ball. Get back. You know, the only time we saw a bit of passion tonight was Shea Lacey's red card, which I'll cover it now. I totally agree with. I think that's because I come from youth football. I understand why it was brought in, and I understand why they trial the sin bin rule with us that they want to bring in to all football for disrespect, where you lose a player for only 10 minutes or whatever they designate the time. And that's because all of us who have kids go out and we see these kids doing this at 7, 8, 9 years of age in English football all the time. So I do get it. I wish it wasn't there. Absolutely. But it's passion. But should we be punishing passion? No. But it's a captain's job and it's a manager's job to rein that in as soon as he got the first yellow card and know the player. He's going to be a hothead now. He's moving around. And if anyone tries to buy a foul off him, they know they're going to get him sent off. Because that's part of football as well. Okay? And that's all I'm going to say on the Shea Lacey. I agree with what the ref done, because if Shea Lacey was the only one looking like he was going to create a goal-scoring chance or even score it himself over the last 2 games for us, bit more than I thought for even Bruno done. If the ref didn't send him off, when we all know slamming the ball into the floor is a yellow card, and he went and supplied us with an equaliser, then PGMOL, the shit's going to hit the fan, because it was a clear and obvious yellow that he didn't give just because he's 18 and you're allowing him to be a kid. If you're old enough to step on the pitch, you're old enough to play by the men's rules and not your own children's rules. And that reaction can't happen. Cigar combing his hair. He can do whatever he wants. If he's in the chat and it just pop a thing in when he says it. It's too quick for the first and second. The first yellow, he missed the ball. He caught him well up the shin. He went over the top of the ball, straight on the shin with the studs. It's one of those soft accidental yellows, but you can understand at that stage in the game how fast he came in. If he caught him any higher on the knee, it could have buckled. So again, it's just passion, but he's the one showing it. So that's why we say play the youth, because we know they're going to run out there and they're going to run for 90 minutes and chase every single ball, and they're going to die, for this badge on the shirt. They're always going to do that. I don't know what it's Paul today. Not sure. No, see, I'm not having that. So you're it's not on you. But if he's not 100% fit, then so be it. And as captain, you need to call it. But he was sprinting back. He was making tackles near the end. I believe he ran back into the left back position and tackled someone, sliding tackle, held it up. He looked more to me, he looked uninterested, like he'd lost his best mate in Amarin. Who knows how often all the Portuguese guys were going out for dinner and things like that. So it could be a change in lifestyle, and he's feeling like he's lost a mate. It's very coincidental. Yes, he's just come back from injury, what we expect too early, but he wouldn't also be smashing the ball across the pitch 60, 70-yard passes, because that's more likely to tear his hamstring even from running, because just on that impact, from experience, that is. So, yeah, slamming the ball into the floor is the same as taking your jersey off while scoring. Stupid rule, Mark. I disagree with you there. Well, they are stupid rules. They are stupid rules, and taking the shirt off, celebration. If you're wearing an Under Armour, you're fine. If you're not, then it's a yellow card. You know the rule when you step on the pitch. What I don't agree with is when Maguire got a yellow card for pushing the Greek striker over, when he's trying to run off with the ball, which is delaying a restart, which is a yellow card. He didn't give them both a yellow card. He only yellow carded Maguire. So I thought the ref was quite shit for the entire game. And we had him the other day, and he was terrible as well. So it is what it is, but it's the same ref for both sides. You have to say you can't prove that he's biased towards any one team. But yeah, there were so many things, and Fletcher. I don't know if everyone saw it. A lot of you might have just turned straight off. Fletcher went and called the ref out after the game. You know, he accepted the red card, but he's saying that what Brighton were doing for fouls in the first half and what the time wasting in the time added on, and yet he played exactly 5 minutes, nothing went over. He didn't book any of them for delaying the throw-ins. You know, there was one up near their corner flag, and Lacey's trying to give him the ball, and he drops it, picks it up, then he drops it for someone else, walks off. Just delaying. It took almost a minute to get the game going. Where's the yellow card? That's what I disagree with. So the rules are stupid, don't get me wrong, but they need to be consistent, and they never will be until a robot starts reffing the game, because that's the only way to be consistent. Who would you have in the summer? I would have Social. I think that the boat has sailed as he didn't meet Jim and Co. It's funny you say that, Trevor. I'm along the same sort of line. I would love to have Thomas Tuchel in. My three are Xavi, Tuchel, or Nagelsmann. Reason being, they are not company guys. They are not yes men. And that might be the reason that they would never come to this club. I do agree with what you were saying about not meeting Sir Jim here in the summer. And that's probably not good. Yeah, so what we got here? Yeah, it was a disgrace. It was a disgrace because there was so much time wasting going on and no cards shown. But yet, I watched the ref cam footage from the Burnley game where even the ref ran up and sort of just had a quick word. Hey, it's not offside. It's a goal kick. Take it quick. And got all the way back to the halfway line. There was none of that. There was none of hurry up, no speed in the game on or anything. Blowing the whistle to make sure he stops walking down the line. It was as if the ref just turned up, got his money today, and went home. Maybe he wished he was doing one of the other games, like the Liverpool game tomorrow night or something, rather than Man United Brighton. I don't know, but he was shocking for us. Who did we have? Did we have him for the Wolves game? I want to think he was the one we had with Wolves when Cunha and that was getting dumped to the floor. It was either the Wolves or the game before that, the Newcastle game, that we had him. And I thought it was really poor then, trying to allow the game to flow, but clear foul is a foul and there's no advantage. So, you know what it's like getting away from Old Trafford. It's nigh on impossible. You're better off staying overnight if you want to get away on time. It's like the reunion with these former players coming in. We have to move on from the past. We do. Okay, Josh, I'm going to phrase something back to you. I'm just trying to think of the right way to put it. Do we need to move on from the past, or do we need to bring the past back to the present? I get what a lot of people are saying. We keep going back to, go back to your ex-girlfriend if we bring Ollie in, Carrick in, people like that. But keeping that in touch with the old Manchester United has always been a thing. It's always been a thing. So there isn't a time when we've been successful or unsuccessful that our board of directors haven't had ex-players on it. There isn't a time for coaches or players haven't at least stayed at the club and done their badges and worked their way up. You've only got to go on Nicky Butts and Paul Scholes' podcast where Butts obviously done his stint in the academy and he's left. And now he'll talk honestly about it. I felt Fletcher was sort of trying to say the same sort of thing along the lines of he wants to go back to his under-18s job, so he's not going to slag off what's going on, but you'll find out in the upcoming days. It is what it is. Yeah, there you go. So that's a prime example. 4 minutes of added on time there, Jarvis. And that's just one example in the second half. And I'm saying what about all the throw-ins and free kicks and goal kicks that the time was wasted, plus the substitutions. It should have at least been 10 minutes. So yeah, if we are, sorry, as I was saying on this, moving forward, if I brought Thomas Tuchel in, currently he has Ashley Cole on his coaching staff at England. He might want to come with him. Would we accept that? Would we accept Cole coming in, an ex-Chelsea player sitting on our bench? He's got very high standards. We know that, but he's ex-Chelsea. But what's the difference between an ex-Chelsea player coming in or an ex-United player coming in as a number two or a defensive coach? So you could swap him for Cole out and bring in Johnny Evans. Johnny Evans less experience, I know, but it's just along those lines. I think he maybe had one too many drinks, Josh, when he said this statement. Look, let's be honest. If we had finished 5-6, where are we? Currently, when Amorim went, we were hovering around 4, 5, 6 in the league, right? If we finish the season under Amorim in those positions, no matter for whatever reason, everyone else being shit or whatever, we would have been in a strong position to push forward towards that 2028. You know, that could be start of the 28-29 season. That was still classed as winning it in 28. But to sack the manager and go back to square one, well, you've sacked that off as well, because your plan's now 1 year further along and someone's going back to square one to start. Unless we bring in Oliver Glasner, which goes back to that formation, you maybe could say that could help. But it was just a stupid statement. At the moment, we've got to get into European football consistently before even thinking about winning the league. Because the fact is, all the time you're in the Champions League, you bring in better players and you strengthen your chance to win the league. You've only got to look at Arsenal as a prime example of that right now, as painful as it is to say that. What's this? All very, very well keeping the past, but the game is moving on. Well, we need to move on with the times, but we need to bring in proven interims, not just legends, especially ones that fell. Okay, so as a proven interim manager, we brought in Ragnick. That was probably the one time we did that. So who would you bring in for 4 months, 5 months? Who would you bring in that is happy to come in for just 5 months and then let someone else take over? And what happens in that 5 months if they get us Champions League football and say we finish top 3, top 2, which we've had the chance to go there this season. So I'm not being completely mad. It's not what I think would happen. But just say that did happen. We went on a winning run under a caretaker manager that's only here, signed a contract for 6 months. Who would you bring in that does that, but you don't then offer the contract to full time? That's why interims don't work. That's why caretakers don't work. What if they do a good job? You know, they're the facts. So, but yeah, I haven't even spoken about our goal, which was pure luck, really. Sesko gets his third in 2. I thought he had a terrible game up until the minute he scored again. I thought against Burnley he was making all the right runs, but going forward today, those runs seem to be non-existent. Whether that was Brighton were holding on to him, stopping him from running, I don't know. But just in general, I didn't think very much of his play. But yeah, got the goal. Simple header at the back post. Down low. Keeper was unlucky. It was at what we call a point of no return for a goalkeeper, just outside of his foot, and can't get your hand there quick enough. It did look. I did think Harry Maguire was going to knock him out going for the ball because they went for the same ball, and it basically looked like Harry Maguire guided his head straight, because he came in from the side, and his head straight and helped him guide it into the bottom corner. It looks quite funny in slow motion if you watch it back. But we didn't really create any decent chances. We didn't really create any clear-cut good chances apart from 2 goals against Burnley. And both of this is changing to a back 4. So again, I would look at our chance creation in a 4-3-3 being less than when it was in a 3-4-3 or 3-5-1, whichever way you want to look at it. So what do people think about that? Is that because Amorim managed to keep Bruno disciplined and staying more in one position, and then in the last 2 games he's been back to running around everywhere? I'm sure if we popped up his heat map, it would show him all over the pitch tonight compared to just the game before he came back from injury. So I don't know. Have your say on that, guys. Come back. Do you think that going to a back 4 might actually hamper us creating chances because now we don't have the width and we don't have the discipline? Right, well, Trevor, thank you for popping on, mate. All the best. Obviously, hit the subscribe and the bell notification on your way out. You'll see whenever I go live that way. And that's the same for all of you guys. Make sure you're clicking that bell. That's always going to help me, and it's going to help you guys know when I'm on, as YouTube tries its best to hide channels like mine. So, yeah. You don't think she can mention blame to the owner only for being bad while these players get... No, totally agree, Josh. Totally agree. One of my favourite sayings where for footballers is the definition of insanity when you keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So we keep playing 4-3-3 with these players under multiple managers, and yet the manager is the one getting sacked. You know, even when we play 3-5-1, manager got sacked. The fact is, the board thinks that you just snap your fingers and you can change it, and everyone else isn't going to, study how to beat or expose a formation. I do think partially Amorim was to blame for his stubbornness and how much he cared about what the other team was doing rather than what our team did. But yeah, the players are to blame. At the end of the day, a striker puts the ball in the net, a midfielder creates chances, and a defender defends the goal, and the keeper just tries his best to help them out. They're your jobs. Go out and do your job. If they're all over us, then we all have to get 11 men back behind the ball. Like every poor team in the league, every team in the bottom of the league will have 11 men behind the ball. Or do you know what? When the top teams start doing that and have the fitness to get forward, you become unstoppable because there's literally no way past you all over the pitch when you can move the ball around. But these players, they're walking, they're passing the ball at 2 miles an hour instead of 100 miles an hour. It's one extreme to the other. Again, who is in the chat now that doesn't think that if I brought in a Ancelotti or it could be any manager, and the board went, yeah, by the way, we've told him he can get rid of whatever players he likes. Some of these players don't start playing out of their skin. Because that's what I feel when I look at the players, how they turn up one week and don't turn up the next. That's a choice. That's not tactical. That's not fitness. That's not anything but a choice you make. It's your mentality whether you want to get up and play football on that day and you want to win. So as a breakdown in communication today, do the players already know that Fletcher's being replaced Monday morning? Tomorrow morning, someone else is walking in, or at least will be announced that is a new manager. So they didn't really play today. Because at the end of the day, they don't care as long as they're getting paid their wages. They really don't. Champions League football, yeah, it's great if you're looking for a transfer, but you've only got to look left and right of you and go, well, he ain't trying and he ain't trying, so why am I trying? You know, we've all probably been at that stage some point in our working life where you think, why do I come to work on time every week, give my all when the other people in my team don't? Negativity will spread faster than positivity ever will, and that's what it always feels like when they pull the pin and chuck a hand grenade in and sack a manager. We know the fans are going to go after the board, and the players get, oh, again, new manager, we got away with that one. Yeah, they'll be all focused on the Glazers and Ineos, and we won't. So if you go back to the first 30 seconds of this video, you'll see where I stand. But if I've still got it open, I will just chuck it back up now. I have a very strong stance on, where's it gone? Here we go. I'll just show you what I use as a basic background for some of my stuff. Here we go, we'll share it. That's what I'm using. Let's get it up on both screens. There it is. Glazers out, Ineos out. You'll see that on my social media stuff on TikTok or probably on X or something like that. So I don't hide from it. But the fact is, everyone needs to go. And it seems horrible to say that. It does. We've got people calling for Bruno, Dalot, Martinez is being called out today. Maguire's too old. I'm not a fan of Sesko, so I'll put myself in that boat, which I feel we still need a striker. People hate Casemiro. Mainu doesn't have the legs to run around. He's always at jogging speed. Ugarte's rubbish. Let's have a look at the bench. No, they're all 18. It doesn't matter where we go. It's very, very negative. So I do totally understand what you're saying. But there is only so much we can do and focus in one area at a time. So, Nick, I'm going to come back to you. But what do you feel when you watch some of these players? Do you feel that's what you're watching? I can certainly think throughout the last 4 seasons, we've barely brought in players over the last 4 seasons that have set the world alight. Who have we had? We've obviously had all the summer signings this year, and we can't really criticise them right now. Who else have we brought in? We brought in Ugarte, Dorgu. Dorgu works hard. Ugarte was criticised by the last manager, but then started to work harder. So maybe, yeah, I just go back and then look at the signings we do bring in. They're rubbish as well. Mount's been out injured for like 2 years. It feels like so. But they don't need to bugger off, do they? They've been given their £200,000-300,000 a week. Why would you go anywhere? Would you just not be a Luke Shaw? Play 300 games out of a possible 700, and be classed at the club for 10 years, but he is now. I think it's 10. It might be more. Yeah, there you go. Mount. But Jarvis, Mount had 23 touches. I can tell you, in all of my time watching Mason Mount, I don't think I've ever seen him play on the right-hand side. He has always been a left-sided 10 at Chelsea or central. And we go put him on the right. And expect him to be backed up and that by Dalot. Dalot was inverting inside of Mount, and Mount wasn't even going wide. So we played very narrow when Dalot was meant to give the width, I'm guessing, from how Dorgu played, because Dorgu stayed wide on the left. But Mount does go hiding. I don't disagree. Mount does go hiding, but he's also not the only player, is he? I don't. So this is a hot take. This might get clipped up or whatever. I don't feel Manchester United, if we play in a 4-3-3, can allow ourselves to have Bruno and Cunha in the same 11, because both of them are walkers. And I do not mean a packet of crisps. Bruno will walk around the pitch and do what he wants to do. He plays as a 10, and the 10 has always been given that sort of free roaming role. Cunha does exactly the same. So what that does in your work ethic as a team knocks you straight down to 9 players out of 11. And that's, maybe Mount could fall into that role as well. So we're now asking players who have never been the most team ethic kind of player. I feel Mount is more towards the team than the other two. We're asking them to work twice as hard. It's like going back to the Rooney, Tevez and Ronaldo. Tevez and Rooney worked their asses off because they knew how good Ronaldo was. So they would do all the running for him. And that was okay because they were in your front line. But you would never say Michael Carrick would just walk around and do nothing and someone could cover it for him, because you can't do it in that position. It depends where you are. So if you're going to play a Bruno or Cunha, they need to be basically the front two to do that. Why do these players look so unfit and fatigued when they're only 1 game a week? Well, that's you'd have to ask them. I don't get it. Are they just naturally not fast, unathletic? I can tell you now, most of these players would absolutely smash us in a sprint. But the Premier League, most of them are so fast these days. They could be why we look slower. Because let's be fair, Bruno doesn't get injured apart from this one hamstring injury. It's the longest he's ever been out of Man United. So he can keep up with them, but he's not exactly fast. But I do agree, a lot of our players are starting to look very lethargic, I think is the word that covers you off best there. Whether it's fatigued, I don't believe so. If it is, then they're working hard in training and they're not resting afterwards. And I've spoken about that on other shows before, where I know for a fact players are going training and then they're going gym and then they're going for additional training after that. And then they could be up till 2 o'clock in the morning playing PlayStation or whatever. So those days are gone. Again, we talk about not going back to the old days. Wouldn't happen under Ferguson, I doubt. He would have known. Someone would have grasped them up that they were all playing online or something like that. But it's a different world, so it's hard to say on that. So I certainly you would see any players doing additional coaching with like a specialist coach. You'd do it at a training ground. If you need to do extra sessions, stay at the bloody training ground. Don't leave the training ground and go somewhere else. Why get changed, get in the car, start stiffening up, and go do whatever you need to do somewhere else? You just stay at the United's gym. It could be the worst gym in the world, but you're still there with your clubs, and you could get other players, and it has a knock-on effect for mentality. When you start going off and doing stuff with personal trainers and personal coaches, that camaraderie just won't be there. So I feel that's the main reason we're fatigued. Something that can get rid of fatigue instantly is camaraderie, where you just do or die. You run for 90 minutes until your legs are gone. So yeah, that is a really good question. All I know is what I know about professional athletes now, from the ones I do know. It's getting beyond stupid, and you wouldn't have got this under Sam Allardyce or anyone like that. Even if they came back in now, it's the first thing they would cut out. I know for a fact in Italy, you live at a training ground. You could live there 5 days a week. It's that strict because they don't want you going off and doing anything. Maybe that's why your De Bruyne's and McTominay's and that are doing so well at Napoli. You know, Rasmus is say what you want about him, he's still getting more goals than he got for us, and he's getting less opportunities as well from what we're creating currently. So, yeah, it's all about the club again. The game plan from Fletcher was a joke. Why drop Ugarte or Mainu in between for centre backs in build up? That was what was he expecting? No one could progress the ball. I sort of covered this, Jarvis, before you came in. I didn't understand it either. I could understand it if it was Casemiro, because obviously he played Mainu more as the 6, Ugarte as an 8, and Bruno as a 10. But what I did find was, and I saw on your show before I started setting mine up, the centre backs was split wide of the 18-yard box. Mainu would come in towards the ball, and it's that same normal bounce pattern. Keeper plays it in, you bounce it out wide, but they cut that off. But when Ugarte dropped in, Ugarte controlled the ball and turned. So he didn't even try a bounce pass or anything. So didn't get it. And then, before even the first half finished, I noticed Bruno coming back and picking it up off of Martinez. But he was standing behind Martinez. And Martinez is trying to dribble the ball out of defence. And Bruno's behind him. Well, he's one of the passes Martinez was currently looking for. Couldn't play that pass. Lays it off. And Bruno hits a 70-yard diagonal out to the right wing. But goes straight out of play. Because no one's expecting it. Because why the hell is he back there? So, yeah, it's very awkward. It's very awkward. I don't think that was the setup. Yeah, it was mainly Ugarte dropping in. Yeah, no, I saw that as well. But that was it. Ugarte kept turning on the ball, and Mainu was at least trying to bounce and play our way out. But again, I feel that we're not very good at playing out from the back. And Amarin called that right. 3 at the back, wing backs, go long. Because if we play out from the back, we play ourselves into trouble. There's a lot from the last 2 games when you look back and go, I can sort of understand what Amarin was doing. That's a problem we didn't have under Amarin. That's a problem we didn't have that under Amarin. We were creating chances. Now we're not. But yet our striker wasn't scoring. But now he is. Swings and roundabouts. It's very weird. And it's going to take a couple of games. But we're going to have to get used to it fast, because we will be straight back into a 4 at the back, no matter who the manager is. Pretty sure of that. It's going to be a call from above, probably from Wilcox, to do that. And I feel like Fletcher's had a little bit of a point towards the board in his interviews, in some of the things he hasn't said, because he couldn't confirm tactics or anything like that. Now, he has his own tactics, so he knows what he does best and everything. Why is he not talking about it? But yes, the playing forward, as Jarvis brought it up. Oh, what's it we got here? Also had to credit so for himself, or putting him as a 3-man behind attacking Dorgu. Yes, Jarvis, I agree with that, and he sort of did that both sides. And funny enough, it's something that would have worked even if we played a back 5, because our wing backs would have pushed forward, and the centre backs, if they picked him up, would have got outrun. It was very similar to the comment from Fulham. You know, when Fulham said about we knew United would do that and where the pockets of space are. So yes, Dorgu is an attacking left back, but I don't think they knew. If they planned this out only an hour before kickoff, when they got given the team sheets and they knew Luke Shaw wasn't playing, then fair play to them, because that's even smarter. But I don't think this would have worked with Luke Shaw. You wouldn't have been able to leave him behind Luke Shaw. And obviously something's happened and Luke Shaw's out, whether it's family emergency or what, because like I said at the start, it wasn't spoken about. So if you're not speaking or mentioning that player, they're keeping it quiet for a reason. It's either, and we wouldn't be surprised, an injury for Luke Shaw, or it's family related, so therefore you don't comment on it, so you don't get any more questions. So yeah, Dorgu left back was an absolute fail from Fletcher. But maybe he had no other options. He didn't think Malacia was capable of doing the job, which I'm not going to disagree with him. I wouldn't have put Malacia in over Dorgu either. I probably would have swapped Dorgu and Dalot, over and played Dalot left back and Dorgu right back. Just would have been more balanced and Dorgu would have felt more at home. Personal opinion, I suppose. And Fletcher again, he's not used to managing against Premier League. He was on the bench as an assistant, wasn't he? Ragnick. He was under Ragnick, wasn't he, as a coach? Before he then stepped down from Ragnick and went upstairs when Ollie came in, I believe. But don't hold me to that. I don't think Manu suits the Premier League the way it's evolved. He reminds me of a Pogba where he's good on the ball, but even Pogba would struggle right now in his prime. Manu, so I have to talk about this a lot. It seems that something not many people know about, and it's probably Man United's fault for how they brought through Manu. Manu started as a striker and up until the under-16s. In the under-18s, they dropped him in as a 10, and that's where he came through under Ten Hag as a 10/8, and now we're pushing him back towards the 6. There aren't many players who managed to make a Premier League debut being a couple of positions lower from where you actually started your playing days. A right back might move to centre back, a striker might move into the 10, but you're not really from a striker at 16 to a holding midfielder, within 3 years of football. Doesn't really work. Manu is definitely a 10. The way Manu gets the ball, holds off players, looks for 1-2s, and we all know he can finish, but we can't get him anywhere near the box. So we are wasting the talent in that respect. I think he's progressed the ball well. I generally wish he would have left the club on loan to take all eyes off of him, or even a transfer away. I know Nicky Buck spoke about it, and I don't know Jarvis in the chat, so if he will remember, but I said I see him as the new Nicky Buck. He's not going to take Bruno Fernandes's place. He's not better than Casemiro as a holding midfielder. So in a 2-man pivot, whatever formation we play, he's not getting in midfield as a first choice player at Man United. So take that opportunity, hand in your transfer request and go, look, I want to play football. Forget about England. I just want to play football and go play for a Newcastle like Nicky Butt did. And it certainly didn't hamper him. And he still ended up having all the respect of a Man United player that went away and wanted to go away for the right reasons. But he's a great midfielder, but he wasn't going to get ahead of Scholes and Keane. And Bruno and Casemiro is the equivalent for Manu. So I would just say maybe Premier League, but he maybe needs to go down and learn his trade week in, week out. And that's what he's not getting. He's not getting the 90 minutes under his belt. Agree, defo should have swapped the fullbacks. Yeah, I'm glad you agree on that, Jarvis, because just Dorgu on the right-hand side it's like a twin. It's like a yin and yang. It's the difference between left and right for Dorgu when he plays is massively different. But potentially both. Depends on the manager. It really is going to depend on who the manager is for that game. Ahmad, I would say more likely to be on the bench, and then Mbeumo starts and replaces Mount, personally. And you go Sesko, Cunha, and Mbeumo, because that was the front three that was paid for in the summer. And then you go Casemiro, Manu, and Bruno as my midfield three. I don't think Casemiro and Ugarte work. So I really like Manu and Casemiro, and I feel that Casemiro can communicate with him with the experience telling him what he needs to do. So I would say Ahmad goes to the bench. What which he's the player I feel by going back to 4-3-3 misses out the most. And I'm sorry to say it, because I feel that it's a choice between Ahmad and Cunha. I think Mbeumo and Sesko probably picked themselves. But then saying that, is Cunha now on 4 goals, Mbeumo's on 5, and Sesko's on 5? So they're our top scorers. I get why people say about playing Leach. He's a good passer of the ball, so it might work. But against City, it's going to end up with, even if we're playing 4 at the back, it's going to look like a 5-4-1 no matter what, because they're probably going to pin us back. We've got to deal with Haaland, so we need Maguire back. I think that's one of the things they wanted to make sure he was 100%, so he's back against Haaland. And if De Ligt's back, even better. If De Ligt and Maguire are back, Leach could see himself on the bench, if not playing left back. Leach, City game will be about hard work and transitions. Mbeumo will start ahead of Ahmad. And the other thing with Ahmad is he slows the game down. He's very much Marcus Rashford in that respect. Gets the ball, wants to face a player up and beat him with a trick or dribble past them. Where actually what we need right now is receiving the ball on the run and getting out your feet and beating a player with pace, which Mbeumo can do. Cunha is definitely fast, but we can't have more than one player trying to dribble around players. In midfield at Ajax, Ten Hag used him there. No, he didn't, Josh. He used him in 2 games. He played 2 games as holding midfielder. The rest he was back. I looked into this under Ten Hag. I believe Jarvis in the chat also looked into this. He's definitely capable of playing a holding midfielder, 100%. And I wouldn't mind seeing him and Casemiro like rotating if we don't get a sub in that holding role. But it is a bit of a myth or legend that he played at Ajax. He played 2.5 games, I believe it was, in the holding midfield role when Frank, was it before Frankie went? But it was definitely under Ten Hag in the title winning season. But I can't remember the exact stats now because it's a couple of years back when I saw it. But yeah, it was only 2. It was less than 5. That I can tell you for a fact. That one I can put my hand up and say it was less than 5 games. He played as a holding midfielder, and as soon as whoever it was out, he was taken straight out, and the holding midfielder was put back in. And they didn't lose any games in that time, so he was dropped no matter what. But yes, going forward then, City. It's hard to call what we change, because really the biggest call, and Jarvis, you just said it in this about transition, it's going to be about hard work and transitions. Transitions we can do. That's definitely the Man United way, the DNA that we want. But we don't have the hard work to get into a low block and defend as a team and then be able to break out of that. It's not going to work. You can certainly get in behind the back of Man City in their build-up. But I don't think we can rob their midfield of the ball. They're too accurate at passing it. And if we try and jump and press that midfield, I think they'll pick our defence apart. If we play 4-3-3, I think it's suicide if we don't play the double pivot with Casemiro and Mainu. I think that would work best. Sorry, that guy, I don't mean to laugh. Welcome, Bilal. But the fact we are crap. We can be. We certainly can be. A few weeks back, we weren't saying that though when we were winning games, and it's the same players, and that's why we all feel this way. But going forward into the Man City, we have to just fight for every ball. We have to be up for a punch up with Haaland. I've seen that in a couple of games now. People taking no crap off of Haaland. It's a hard one to work out because we don't know where we're going. So it's definitely one of those preview shows you're going to have to watch from myself or Tactical Devils or whoever else you might want to watch. I would say stay away from the mainstream because they won't focus on the actual players and the tactics needed. But whoever that manager is, you're going to need to understand how they play football, and you're going to need to do it fast. And as Sam Allardyce used to say, the first thing you do as you come in as a manager is you stop conceding goals. So you sort out the defence and the midfield. And the strikers should always be able to put the ball in the net. So they do them. And and everyone else works hard to keep the ball out of the net. Fletcher's gone and said exactly the same thing. We've got to stop giving up stupid chances. Amarin said that. We saw it under Ten Hag. So the same things are happening. And it's the same players leaving it exposed. So I don't want to go all over that again because obviously that's a witch hunt. But some of those players need to stand up and be counted and realise themselves what they need to maybe change in their game, make a sacrifice for the team. But yes, the Man City game is going to be one hell of a big game. I believe is that another 4:30 kickoff, is it? Oh, no, actually early one, isn't it? 12:30 on Saturday. Man City, 12:30 Saturday. One of our times we love not to turn up for games. I said in the preview for this game, if all eyes are on us, we don't turn up. I'd rather we play 3 o'clock every Saturday where no one can watch, and we seem to play a little bit better than a 12:30 or a 4:30 on a Sunday or a Monday night football. Because all those games, we've blown every single opportunity we've had. Man City aren't great at the moment, so they are there for the taking, and we will only be able to put our hands together and pray, really, that everything goes right in the next 24, 48 hours. Does anyone in the chat expect Fletcher to stay in charge? Does anyone in the chat think that? Because I'm expecting him to go back to the 21s as of tomorrow morning. He was sort of expecting that. But right now, there's been no... correct me if I'm wrong, but I've heard people talking about Carrick coming in with his coaching team. I've heard Ollie at the wheel, but no actual top journalists saying anything, breaking any of the news that there's a done deal and it'll be signed in the morning. So if anyone's seen anything, please let me know. I'm just having a quick look now if there's anything come out. No, the usual people. The usual people not... how should I put it? Let's just say the biggest news Manchester United channel still spinning the massive negative. So I would say stay away from their channel as much as you can, unless you want to go there with your own opinion. So to what the management or football will be going forward next week. But I think we've covered everything. I really appreciate everyone that's come over from Tactical Devils. Jarvis, thank you for doing that. And if you, like I said, when you guys popped over, if you haven't already, hit the like, subscribe, turn the notifications on, everything like that. You know what to do. And it'll just help me move forward as a channel. I'll be doing my next preview probably Friday night for the Man City game, as it's a 12:30 kickoff. I think trying to do it any earlier than that, I haven't got hope in hell. But I really appreciate everyone that came over. Oh, what's this? Before we go, after I believe Fletcher will go back to the youth setup, but who will take over is still a mystery, which is bad for the club and players. And Nick, do you know what? I think that's a great place to leave it, because I agree. I think the unknown for these weak-minded footballers of today is just an excuse for them not to turn up. But I really do think it's the reason they don't turn up. So I will leave it there. Like I said, guys, I will catch you maybe Friday night. And should I watch the derby? I'm trying to end the show. Stop asking questions. Should I watch the derby? You should always watch the derby, Bilal. But just lower your expectations. just look for good performances and look for those players who play for the badge. So all we do, isn't it? We're Man United fans. We play for this. If we were to step on that pitch, that's what we play for. And that's what any player who has that opportunity and has that privilege that so many millions of fans around the world would dream of, they need to turn up for the derby, because the derby and beating City and keeping Manchester red is all that matters. So until next time on the United Lens, guys, I'll catch you later.